Wife betrayed me with my friend after I told her not to go to the party. I recently found out my wife deceived me, and honestly, it still doesn't feel real saying that out loud. I stumbled onto this forum hoping someone might offer some insight or just a bit of support while I try to wrap my head around it. Here's some background. I'm 32, and my wife, Erica, is 27. We've been married for 3 years, together for almost 6. No kids, no major assets, and financially, we're barely staying afloat. More debt than savings, and we rent a modest 2-bedroom place in the suburbs outside Denver. I'm the main provider, pulling in about $4,500 a month. She works part-time and brings home maybe $1,200 on a good month. I've been working myself into the ground trying to give her a life she seemed comfortable with, and now this. I've got a solid crew at work, and one of the guys, Colin, invited me to join a local rec soccer league a while back. That was about 2 years ago, and I've been playing ever since. Erica used to come to almost every match. I thought she was just being supportive, but if I'm being honest, part of me always felt like she was more into the free drinks and social scene than the game itself. While I kept my drinking to a minimum since I had work the next day most of the time, she didn't hold back. She'd get buzzed pretty often while watching from the sidelines. After games, our group, a mix of coworkers and their friends, would usually go out to grab food, hit a bar, or chill at someone's place. Sometimes they'd end up at our house too. A few weeks back, we had a game, and afterward, some of the guys planned to hang out at a guy's place in Fort Collins, about a 40-minute drive. I told them straight up I wouldn't be going. I had to open the next morning at the office. On the drive home, Erica texted Colin, the same dude I considered a buddy, asking if he could swing by and take her to the party. While we were still in the car, she turned to me and asked, "Would you be okay if I went anyway?" I told her no. I had work early, and more than that, I just wanted to spend the night with her. She didn't say a word, just sat there stewing in silence the rest of the way back. The moment we pulled into our driveway, Colin's car rolled up. I realized she'd already made her decision, probably before she even asked me. I was livid. I walked up to his window and told him I wasn't cool with it and he needed to leave. But Erica got out of our car, didn't look at me, and hopped right into his. They drove off without a word. Still burning with anger, I went inside and grabbed this old iPad I'd gotten her a few years ago. It was an outdated model, but I remembered it still had her messaging apps linked to it. I plugged it in, hoping maybe I'd get some kind of idea where she went. I tracked her location and tried to stay awake, but around 3 a.m., I passed out on the couch, and she still wasn't home. When I woke up the next morning, she was in bed like nothing happened. I didn't wake her, no kiss, no goodbye, for the first time ever. I wanted her to feel that something was very wrong. Before heading out to work, I slipped the iPad into my laptop bag. Hours later, after wrapping up a meeting and a few emails, I pulled it out and saw a notification pop up from one of her messaging apps. Colin is typing. I opened it. What I saw next nearly made my heart stop. The app was designed to delete messages automatically, but her version must have been outdated, because everything was still there. Their conversation was filthy. He was joking about them, making love, and hinting at some wild group stuff that happened that night, even mentioning other guys getting their turn. I sat there frozen, sick to my stomach, and just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. I watched in absolute horror as my wife, Erica, messaged Colin, the same guy I once called a friend, asking him to send her a video of himself, doing something graphic I still can't believe she wanted. He sent it. She watched it, and unfortunately, so did I. The moment it played on the screen, I ran out of my office like I was on fire and locked myself in the nearest bathroom. I threw up. Hard. My body was shaking uncontrollably. I was sick, not just physically, but emotionally wrecked by what I had just witnessed. I told my boss I needed to leave for the day, and thankfully, he could see something was off. I spent the next few hours just trying to breathe, just trying not to lose my mind. I was genuinely scared, not just of what she'd done, but of what I might do in a state like that. When I got home, she was still in bed, completely passed out like the night before was no big deal. I dropped my bag and asked her to come downstairs so we could talk. I sat across from her at the kitchen table and calmly asked her to walk me through everything that happened after the game the night before. She gave me some watered-down version, said it was just drinks, pool, and chatting, nothing serious, just hanging out. Then I asked her when was the last time she messaged Colin. She hesitated but said they'd exchanged a few messages that morning, nothing important. That's when I hit her with it. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Would your story change if I told you I saw the entire conversation between you two this morning?" She froze. Then, out of nowhere, she burst into tears, the first words out of her mouth. "Are you going to leave me?" She broke. Everything poured out. She told me she barely remembered what happened that night, but admitted that she had slept with Colin and another guy from the team. Maybe more. She wasn't sure. Said it was all a blur. I felt like something in me just shut off. I asked her if this was the first time. She shook her head. Turns out, there were other times. One of them even happened in our own home, while I was sleeping upstairs. That was it. That was the moment I stopped feeling anything. I helped her pack a bag and told her to go stay with her family. She begged me not to tell anyone, pleaded with me, but I didn't even answer. I was now stuck, alone, in this nightmare. It's been 2 weeks since that day, my personal D-Day, and I still don't know how to move forward. I'd like to believe I haven't experienced the worst version of this scenario, but honestly, it's hard to imagine something more humiliating and painful than realizing your wife was hooking up with guys you let into your life, even under your own roof, for months. Now she wants to say it was just the alcohol. Says she's going to start AA. She wants us to do couples therapy. She wants to rebuild. Start over, but I feel like that ship's not just sailed, it sank. And yet, I feel like a total chump. I'm drowning in every ugly emotion, guilt, shame, rage, confusion. I don't even know why. I'm not the one who caused this. I've got a meeting with a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I'm hoping that's the right next step. No matter how broken she is, no matter how many tears she cries or promises she makes, I can't get that image out of my mind. Her, right in the middle of it all, like some twisted party favor. I can't look at her the same. I can't even speak to her without picturing what she did. I know I deserve better. I'm far from perfect, but what she did, that's on a whole other level. Still, I sit here asking myself why the hell I feel like the villain. There's no saving this, right? I'm not the one who broke the vows. I'm not the bad guy, right? Any support or words of wisdom would honestly mean the world right now. I feel pathetic even typing this all out, but seeing it in writing somehow makes it more real. And it hurts like hell to realize how completely I was blindsided by someone I gave everything to. Update number 1. Thank you. Seriously. To everyone who reached out with advice, encouragement, and just kindness, I can't express how much it meant to me. It's been nearly a month since my first post, and things have only gotten worse. Worse in ways I didn't even think were possible. A few days after everything blew up, I took your advice. I booked consultations with 3 attorneys and 1 legal document specialist to weigh my options. Erica didn't know a thing about it. We kept our distance for a few days, no direct contact, but she was relentless, insisting this time she really wanted to try. She actually got us on a marriage counselor's schedule, which was something I'd been asking for long before my world imploded. Still, deep down, I knew where I stood. I knew I was done, but I went anyway, just to see if there was even a shred of something left worth saving. While we waited for the appointment date, I became obsessed. That damn iPad became my second life. I monitored everything, her messages, her location, her social media. Snapchat, Facebook, you name it, I was watching, constantly, desperately trying to catch her slipping again. But for over a week and a half, I didn't see anything new. And part of me started to think maybe she was finally being sincere. Maybe she was remorseful. Then came therapy day. The therapist welcomed us in, sat us down, and asked why we were there. I told her to explain it in her own words. She gave him the edited version, left out a few horrific parts, but the general story was the same. Then the therapist turned to me. How does this affect your ability to trust her? How does it impact how you feel about this marriage? I stared at him for a moment, then just shook my head. I couldn't even find the words at first. Then I finally said, if I don't say this out loud now, I never will. There's no coming back from this. Not for me. The marriage, it's done. The trust is gone. The vows are broken. What's left can't be fixed. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. She completely broke down, crying, begging, falling apart. But I kept going. I meant what I said when I stood at that altar. And if I don't stand by those words now, I'm lying to myself. And I can't do that anymore. The rest of the session was the therapist trying to calm her down and explaining, gently but firmly, that my decision made perfect sense given everything that had happened. He suggested we continue therapy, but separately. He wanted to work with us as individuals first. Down the line, maybe years from now, he said we might meet again to talk about closure. But not now. Let me make this part clear. I'm not planning for reconciliation. Not even a little. But maybe this solo therapy thing could help me get back to who I was before she burned it all down. Now, before I wrap this update up, I'll say this. I know I'm about to dive into a legal mess that could be ugly and expensive, especially since I'm the primary earner and we live in a no-fault state. I've already written out everything related to the legal process, but I won't share it here just yet. Too risky while things are still up in the air. What I can say is that, for now, I have to play nice. Keep things civil, at least until the papers are signed. Let's fast forward another week and a half. We've both had one solo session with the therapist. She's telling her family that we're ending the marriage because the vows were broken, but that we're both trying to heal. She's still staying with her parents. And me? I'm still glued to that iPad, scanning everything for proof that she hasn't changed at all. And last week, I finally saw something. I had never thought to check the App Store. But one night, something told me to dig deeper. So I opened the download history connected to Erica's iCloud, and that's when my stomach dropped. Almost 2 weeks before that night she came clean, she had downloaded a hidden messaging app. That was it, the moment it all clicked. She had gone out of her way to install an app specifically to hide messages from me, all while pretending to rebuild trust. And the worst part? I realized she probably forgot that I still had access to her iCloud on the very iPad she insisted I keep so I could learn to trust her again. I genuinely believe to this day she didn't realize that app downloads show up in the purchase history across all synced devices. I had to know what was inside that app. I wasn't thinking straight. I was operating on instinct and adrenaline. I downloaded the app onto her iPad, tried a few password combos I knew she often used, and just like that, I was in. And there it was. She'd been messaging Colin nonstop on this secret app, even after our first therapy session together. And it wasn't just messages. They'd been meeting up, sleeping together, coordinating it around the exact time she knew I'd be out of town or working late. I completely lost it. I threw up again. I cried so hard I could barely breathe. It was 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. And then, I hit my lowest point. I went into the bathroom and started grabbing every bottle of prescription medication I could find: painkillers, muscle relaxers, antidepressants. I didn't even stop to think. I just scooped them all up and carried them back into the bedroom with shaking hands. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the pills. I couldn't take the pain anymore. My whole life felt like it had collapsed in on itself. I picked up my phone and tried calling my mom. No answer. Tried my dad. Nothing. Finally, I called my sister, and she picked up. Between sobs, I told her what I just found. She didn't know I had a handful of pills in my hand, but she could tell I was right on the edge. She kept me on the phone for nearly an hour, talking me down, refusing to hang up until she was sure I was okay. Eventually, the panic faded into a dull numbness. After we hung up, I quietly walked back into the bathroom and dumped every single pill back into the bottles. I washed my hands, looked at my reflection, and tried to pull myself together, though sleep never came that night. By morning, I couldn't stand being in that house for one more second. I had to get out. I had to go to work, if only to feel like a human being for a few hours. Before I left, I threw the bottle of pills and the iPad into my briefcase. Once I got to the office, I handed them both to my closest coworker. I asked him, no, I begged him to lock them in his desk and not give them back to me. No matter what, no questions asked. He nodded, gave me a reassuring pat on the back, and said nothing. That was the moment it all became real. I had found what I was looking for. Cold, undeniable proof. Erica hadn't just cheated. She had gone to elaborate lengths to deceive me, repeatedly and without remorse. I spiraled for days. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to blow it all up, tell everyone. Her family, her friends, our mutuals. Let the whole world know who she really was. But I didn't. The divorce was already underway, and in our state, there's a window of time where if one party decides to make things difficult, it can get very messy and very expensive. So I held my tongue. She kept trying to reach out, texting, calling, even dropping by. I ignored it all, until the day she showed up in person. I tried to stay calm. I kept things vague, neutral. I didn't let her know what I knew. But when she started raising her voice and accusing me of being cold and distant, something in me snapped. I asked her, calmly, have you had any contact with Colin since that night? She looked me straight in the eye and said, no. I blocked him on everything. I swear. I asked again, are you absolutely sure about that? She doubled down. He's disgusting. I would never do that to you. Never. That's when I pulled out my phone. What about this app? And what about the screen recording I took of your entire chat history with him? The pictures, the messages, the plans you two made based on my work schedule? She dropped to the floor, sobbing, hysterical. But I didn't flinch. I told her, Here's how this is going to work. I won't expose you. I won't send any of this to your family, your friends, or anyone else. But in return, you're not going to fight me on the divorce. At all. I'm going to be more than fair, even though you don't deserve it. But you're going to sign, and you're going to disappear. 2 days later, she was served. Since then, I've kept my word. I haven't told a soul outside of my immediate family. But I have continued to check her location, and every single night, I see the same thing. She drives to Colin's house. The same house he shares with his mother. Her family thinks she's at nightly Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. But I've got the screenshots, every single one of them proving she's lying. Why hasn't she changed her iCloud password? I have no idea. Why do I keep collecting all this evidence? Maybe it's just a way to remind myself that I'm not crazy. What hurts the most, what keeps me up at night, is the injustice of it all. She gets to play the part, be surrounded by people, pretend like she's healing, like she's changed. Meanwhile, I'm sitting alone in a haunted house filled with ghosts of everything we used to be. I go to work, come home, and stare in nothing. I'm not in danger of hurting myself anymore. But these are still some of the darkest days I've ever faced. Right now, I'm just trying to make it through this last stretch until the deadline passes and she loses the right to contest anything in court. After that, I'll finally be free. Free from the lies, the shame, the sickness. What I'll do from there, I still don't know. I'm just trying to survive long enough to get there. Thank you to all of you who've stuck with me through this, offered advice, shared kind words, or just listened when I had nowhere else to turn. You've been my one outlet in a world that shut me out. I don't know your names, but I trust you more than I ever trusted her, and that says everything. Update number 2. This is my third post here, and hopefully my last. The outpouring of support I received after the first 2 updates, it honestly saved my life. And now, I'm finally at the end of this nightmare. My divorce is official. After waiting through that absurd 6-month cooling-off period our state requires to give time for reconciliation, I can say with certainty, she didn't sneak any tricks past me. It's done. We're done. I've gone completely no contact, blocked on every platform. And for the first time in forever, I feel like maybe, just maybe, I can start moving forward. I know a lot of people followed those first 2 posts. And yeah, they were dark, disturbing, even. But you all stayed with me. So I wanted to return and share how things finally played out. Because what happened during that 6-month cooling-off period, well, let's just say it didn't cool anything down. The last time I shared an update, it had been about 6 weeks since what I now call D-Day. What I didn't mention back then was that I had already filed the divorce paperwork with the county clerk's office. And honestly, I have no regrets. Following the advice of a lot of kind folks online, I decided to cut ties completely. I gave Erica back the iPad and disconnected every shared login, cloud service, and device that could suck me back into obsessive monitoring. I already knew enough. I didn't need more. And truth be told, the way I handled the divorce may have chipped away at my emotional health, but it saved me thousands of dollars. In hindsight, it was the only real move I could make. Dragging things out while she played innocent would have gutted me financially. This was a no-fault divorce state, and as the primary earner, I was staring down the barrel of up to $2,000 a month in spousal support for half the length of a marriage that shouldn't have lasted another day. We didn't even have kids. No way in hell was I paying her a dime for the damage she caused. So I got smart. I got angry. And I came up with a plan. Looking back, I'm not exactly proud of how I navigated the legal side of this, morally speaking, but it worked. And compared to the mountain of pain and deception she piled onto my life, my little hill of manipulation barely cast a shadow. At the time of my last post, the divorce was already in motion. I just hadn't told Erica. She was still living with her family. I never let her set foot in my house again after I made her leave. I arranged a few meetings here and there, pretended I was still struggling with the idea of reconciliation. Complete BS, of course. But I kept my tone gentle and my words believable. I told her that if we ever hoped to build something again, we'd have to end our marriage officially and start fresh, like dating each other again, working towards something new. It makes me want to throw up just writing that. But she believed it. In fact, I went out of my way to make it all feel easy, friendly, low stakes. Just 2 people trying to quietly dissolve a broken marriage without the mess. A good example? The way she was served. Instead of the standard legal ambush, I had a mutual friend, someone we both trusted, come by my place. Erica came too, thinking we were just exchanging paperwork and having a casual conversation. She signed the documents without reading them, sealed the envelope, and left. I doubt she ever looked through those forms properly. And in those papers? No mention of spousal support. Just a clean split of our joint checking account. That was my main goal. And I pulled it off. Over the next few months, I kept playing my role. I'd meet with her maybe twice a month in public, coffee shops, restaurants, parks. I made sure everything was visible and safe, so she couldn't spin some story later. I acted like I was healing, like I needed time, like I still saw hope. She believed it. And during that time, she helped me with everything, removing herself from my bank accounts, the lease, even moving her stuff into a storage unit after I convinced her that being out of the house would help me heal. I told her we'd get a new place together. It was all a lie, but it made everything incredibly easy. By month 4 of our 6-month waiting period, it looked like smooth sailing, until it all blew up again. I got a text from one of her relatives, someone she was living with. They asked, "Are you two still working things out?" I replied, playing the part, "Yeah. Why?" Then came the photo. There she was, at a restaurant in Boulder, sitting across from Colin, the guy she swore she'd blocked and was done with. That family member had randomly seen them while out for drinks and sent me the proof. I cracked. I shouldn't have, but I did. I messaged Erica and asked if we could talk. She replied, saying she was in an AA meeting and would call after. That's when I fired back. Didn't realize AA meets at Cielo's Italian Grill. "Is Colin your sponsor now?" She called me immediately screaming, accusing me of stalking her, flipping the script like I was the crazy one. I told her off. Really let her have it. I said everything I'd been holding back, words I can't even repeat here. And that was it. The final 2 months of the divorce were brutal. She went public with her relationship with Colin, first subtle, then full-blown PDA posts. I had already blocked them both on social, but mutual friends kept sending me updates. Eventually, I had to beg people to stop showing me. The pain was still fresh, and every new photo was another punch to the chest. Then came Valentine's Day, just days before the divorce was finalized. I got 3 different screenshots from 3 different people. Same post, same disgusting caption. A picture of them kissing with a comment about how God brought such an amazing man into her life, how she hopes he's the one she marries someday, and how when one door closes, God opens a window. Yeah, a window into hell. The only thing that made it bearable were the confused comments, people asking who the guy was, even a few shocked face reactions. Some of them were from her own extended family. I wish I could say it didn't bother me, but it did. It still does. Deep down, I felt grief for the woman I thought I knew, and absolute disgust that I didn't see the monster behind her smile all those years. Colin? I don't even think about him. He deserves whatever disaster he signed up for. And finally, the day came. The court finalized our divorce last week. She never challenged anything. She lost her right to ask for more. I kept my 401k, avoided spousal support, and didn't have to take on a cent more of shared debt. No courtroom drama. No lawyers. No more of her. That night, I blocked her number for good. And the next day, 7 of my closest friends, 6 of whom were friends with both of us, threw me a divorce party. Her former maid of honor was there. And she told me straight, she never wants to speak to Erica again. But there's one last thing that still eats at me. Back during the time I was digging through her digital mess, I found out she had been sleeping with someone else too, not just Colin. This guy was an ex from her hometown. Married. With a kid. And now I don't know what to do. His wife has no idea. And I feel this overwhelming guilt just knowing it, like I'm complicit in her being deceived too. But do I blow up their lives just to deliver the truth? Or do I stay quiet and live with this worm burrowing deeper into my conscience? It's a question I still can't answer. Update 3 2 years later. In 17 days, it'll be the 2-year mark since D-Day. I reread my old post recently, and I couldn't believe how far I've come. How dark those days were. The grief. The humiliation. The pure shock at what Erica did. I truly didn't think I'd survive it. But I did. And if you're reading this while in the middle of your own hell, wondering if you'll ever feel okay again, I'm here to tell you, it gets better. It takes time. But healing does happen. I'm not completely there yet. But I'm living. I'm breathing. I'm moving forward. And most importantly, I never looked back. So here it is, hopefully my last update. If you've stuck around this long, thank you. And if you're just now jumping in, you might want to grab a drink and read my earlier updates first. Because by the time you catch up to this chapter, you'll be wondering how any of this could be real. Believe me, I still do. It's been a long while since my last post, and for a while, things were quiet. After the divorce was finalized back in February 2019, I did my best to go full no contact. But that's easier said than done in the world we live in. I didn't reach out to her, never messaged her, never checked her pages directly. But every now and then, something would slip through the cracks, a random photo on a mutual's feed, an Instagram post from someone I hadn't blocked yet, or a friend unintentionally mentioning something she saw on a Snap story. The usual. My core group of friends really tried their best to shield me from it. But sometimes, the bombshells were just too big to keep quiet. The first major blow came in May 2019. One of my closest friends called me and said, "Hey, you might want to sit down. Erica, my ex-wife, was getting remarried. To a guy from Tennessee." Yeah, I said the same thing. Wait, what? Turns out, my friend's husband hadn't blocked her on Facebook, and he was able to take screenshots of everything leading up to the big announcement. Between March and July of 2019, she went from divorced to married again. Apparently, things with Colin didn't last long after our divorce. No surprise there. I don't know what ended it or how, but the timeline speaks for itself. By April, she was dropping hints all over her page, cryptic status updates about everything happening for a reason, and new beginnings. Stuff like that. Then, in July, boom. A photo of her and some random guy, no one any of us had seen before, holding hands outside a courthouse. Rings on fingers. Smiles on faces. A caption saying something like, "So excited to start my forever with this amazing man. Feeling so blessed. Look out, Tennessee, here we come." Geotagged in Sacramento. I couldn't believe it. But it gets better. Or worse, depending on how you look at it. Curiosity got the better of me, and I reached out to one of Erica's cousin-in-laws. We were always on decent terms, and I figured if anyone would tell it straight, it'd be him. He filled me in. Her new husband? A guy she met online just a few months prior. They talked mostly over the phone and through text. Apparently, they fell for each other hard and fast. He proposed during a phone call and she said yes. A week later, they met in person for the first time on their wedding day. They tied the knot in a tiny courthouse ceremony, and not a single member of her family showed up. Whether that was due to lack of notice or lack of support, who knows? The next day, they packed up a truck, and by Monday morning, they were on the road to Tennessee. I couldn't wrap my head around it. But I'd heard the story from enough people that I knew it was real. That poor guy. If only he knew what he was marrying. I just hope he was truly in the dark and not foolish enough to go along with it willingly. Either way, he tied himself to someone in a no-fault state, same as me, and if it all goes south, he might end up in the same mess I crawled out of. But at least they moved far away. Tennessee is about as far from me in Colorado as you can get. No risk of accidentally running into her at the grocery store, and for that, I'm thankful. Summer passed without incident, but then, fall rolled around, and so did another gut punch. One afternoon, I was scrolling through Instagram when a video popped up. At first, I didn't know what I was looking at, just a woman holding a plate in front of a man covering his eyes. Then I heard the voice. Her voice. She started a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then her dad pulled his hands from his eyes. On the plate, a cookie with blue frosting. Her voice again. It's a boy. It was a freaking gender reveal video. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Turns out, her mom, who just joined Instagram, had posted it publicly, and the algorithm decided I might know this account. That night wrecked me. The flood of emotions, grief, disgust, sadness, even jealousy, all hit at once. I'd always wanted to be a father. And had things gone differently, that could have been my child. That video might have been me holding that cookie. I'm 32 now. I thought I'd be a dad by this point. I thought I'd be settled down, maybe teaching a kid how to ride a bike by now. I know I still have time. I know I'm not out of the game, but seeing her, this woman who dragged me through hell, suddenly playing the role of excited mother-to-be, while I'm left alone rebuilding from the ashes, that hurt in a way I can't fully explain. I don't know if the baby's been born. No one's told me, and honestly, I prefer it that way. These days, I go longer stretches without thinking about her. And that, in itself, is progress. The bad days still come, especially during lockdown, when every hour alone feels like 10. I'm lucky to work remotely as a contractor, but the isolation is brutal. I go for walks. I visit my parents. I avoid social media when I can. I do what I have to do to keep from falling into that pit again. This global mess we're all in? It doesn't make anything easier. But it does remind me that I'm not going through this alone. Everyone's dealing with their own kind of loss. Their own reset. When I feel hope again, I hold on to it. When I think back to those early days, the ones right after D-Day, I still remember the fog, the fear, the belief that I'd never survive it. But here I am, I made it through then, and I'll make it through whatever life throws at me now. One moment at a time, if that's what it takes. Because time moves forward. No matter how slowly it feels, it moves. And eventually, you catch up. So before I close this chapter for good, I just want to say thank you. To everyone who commented, messaged, supported, encouraged, you saved me. This community gave me strength when I had none. You gave me hope when I was buried in hopelessness. I owe you more than I could ever say. Here's to the next 2 years. To surviving, to healing, and maybe even thriving. Update 4. 3 years since D-Day. It's hard to believe, but 3 years have passed since that nightmare began. And this last year? It's the first time I've finally been able to focus entirely on me. I don't have any updates about Erica. I've gone full no contact, not just with her, but with her entire family. Every account, every app, every friend of a friend who might accidentally let something slip. I've even muted and blocked mutuals who could unknowingly drop her name in casual conversation. I had to. I knew from experience that the best way to move forward was to remove every digital thread that tied me to her past, into the pain it carried. That part was harder than I expected. Her family. They weren't just her family. For years, they were mine. Some of them felt like blood. Letting go of those relationships was painful, unfair, even, but necessary. And you know what? It's working. There are more and more days now where she doesn't cross my mind at all. And when she does, it's more of a thank God I got out moment than a wound reopening. I used to feel loss. Now, it's mostly relief. Over the past year, during a time when the world stood still, I made one of the biggest leaps of my life. I left my job and started my own independent consulting business in IT and systems design. It was a risk, but one that paid off almost immediately. Within the first few months, I landed contracts with 2 government organizations right here in my county. Those contracts were renewed for another year, and the pipeline hasn't slowed down since. Working for myself, with no one's success riding on my shoulders except my own, has been empowering. I feel capable. I feel valuable. I feel me again. My finances are stronger than they've ever been. My body's in the best shape since this whole ordeal started. My mind? Calmer. Clearer. Less haunted. I'm starting to feel good again about myself and about the future. But there's one area I'm still struggling in: trust. Especially when it comes to romantic relationships. I don't trust easily anymore. That goes for everyone, really, but especially when it comes to dating. And oddly enough, that's part of what made starting my own business feel so natural. I knew I could count on myself. I didn't need to rely on anyone else. But dating? I gave it a shot. About a year ago, I dipped my toes into the online scene. 3 or 4 dates later, I dipped right back out. It was a mess. Profiles that looked sincere turned out to be attention-hunting games. I don't think a single woman I met was talking to just me, and I hated that. After everything I'd been through, I didn't want to be part of someone else's emotional carousel. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. And I'm not saying all women are like that. But I've been through enough deception to last a lifetime. I don't have the energy to pretend anymore. I still believe in love. I still want that connection, that intimacy, that partnership. But just because I want it doesn't mean I'll settle for anything less than real. I'll wait. I'll do the work. I'll keep building a life I'm proud of. Every once in a while, I get that voice in my head, the one that says, "You're 34. You should have a wife by now. A kid. A mortgage. Family vacations. The whole picture." And I look at my bank account and say, yeah? And does that number make you feel like you're living? It's something I'm still working through. That imaginary timeline we all build for ourselves. It's a prison if you let it be. I'm not where I thought I'd be. But I am grateful. Because I could still be trapped in another version of this life. One where I stayed married to someone who destroyed everything good inside me. Instead, I've got my freedom. I've got peace. I've got a shot at something better. And someday, when I look back at all of this, I want to be able to say I didn't let it break me. I want to say I chose to keep going, even when I had every reason to give up. So thank you. Truly, you've helped me carry this weight. You've helped me find my footing. And you've reminded me, again and again, that I'm not alone. I wouldn't have made it without you.